Our condolences to Betty and your family, and take a moment to remember Jenny before we get started with our meeting tonight. Let's have a moment of silence for Jenny Clark, please. Thank you. First item on our agenda is with Spring Haven Domestic Violence Program. We have Shona Shekels and Leslie Hall with us this evening. We want to give a presentation to the council this evening. So, Shona, I'll start with you since you're kind of a familiar face in the audience this evening.
Since I pay in city taxes, yeah, let me talk first. Good evening, everyone. I am Shona Shekels. I'm the Director of Outreach Services for Spring Haven Domestic Violence Program, and this is our new Executive Director. She's been with us since the end of April. Her name is Leslie Hall. And so we're just moving right along.
I honestly just came here to see you folks and meet some of the folks in the region that we have. It's very nice to be new. I'm just going to show my face and then give you to the face that really matters.
Appreciate it. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so we have had lots of events throughout the Lincoln Trail ad. Spring Haven is the only state certified domestic violence program in the central Kentucky area. So we service 8 counties, and Nelson is one of those counties. I happen to be the victim's advocate for Nelson counties, so I provide advocacy and support in the court system for victims of domestic violence as they're trying to navigate the emergency process, domestic violence process. And I also provide education on domestic violence to victims of domestic violence, and we work closely with CPS, the school systems. Bardstown High School is the first school in our county to allow me to come into school during the school day to have have a group with teams on healthy and unhealthy relationships. So that is a big plus. Getting started in our school systems, hopefully that will help curb some of the domestic violence in our counties. Also work well with Olivia Rayleigh from the police department, and that is a wonderful, wonderful connection. A couple of weeks ago, we had a t-shirt project at the Nelson County Library where survivors of domestic violence that are staying in our shelter, they painted t-shirts that Olivia provided, and they painted their feelings about the domestic violence situations that they had been in. And so we presented those at the public library, and about 50 people came through and were asking questions and got to Pat Maverick and all those things. So it was a great collaboration. In Nelson County for the calendar year, there were over 200 EPOs filed, emergency protective orders filed. And out of the 200, 98 were approved by Judge Kelly, and they were granted a more permanent order. A temporary order, the EPO lasts up to 14 days until you can get into district court. We don't have family court here, we have family court in Hardin where I'm the victim's advocate as well, but here we have district with Judge Kelly. And so he saw fit to grant those 98 domestic violence orders that will last for up to 3 years. So, working with the police department, Chief K is always willing to help out victims of domestic violence. Her staff is willing to help out victims of domestic violence. We get a lot of support from the Sheriff's Department as well. We are state and nationally funded, but we depend on our communities for funding as well. Private donations from the city, and I was told that I could say this by Mayor Gregory. So Mayor Gregory gave us $30,000 on August the 9th. I'm not asking Bardstown for $30,000, but anything that you all could release to Spring Haven at any point, we would greatly appreciate it. For years, when the judge executive was Dean Watts, we received $5,000 a year from fiscal court. Well, when the new regime came in, it just stopped. There was no reasons given, it just stopped. And I didn't go and ask. So I'll put that out there too. So I'm just wanting you all to be aware that domestic violence is alive and well here in Nelson County. If there's anything in your budget constraints that could help us out, we would appreciate it. Our brick and mortar is in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, so we have a domestic violence shelter that can house up to 25 people comfortably. If we have more people within the ad district that need our services, then we can make do. It's just like at your house, if you need to pull out a rollaway bed or air mattress, we can do that because a person's safety is the most important. A little inconvenience and maybe being in there a little tight is okay as long as people are safe. At Spring Haven, I'm going into my 25th year. People have come and stayed 5 minutes, they've stayed 18 months. We are a temporary shelter, we're not a homeless shelter. We are a shelter for victims and survivors and their children of domestic violence. So we're here. My office is on the 3rd floor of Spalding Hall, and I provide education services out of that office. Also, I do presentations within the community for the Rotary clubs, for the schools, knitting clubs, any kind of club you can think of. I do presentations on domestic violence because so many people don't know about it. They think that domestic violence is only about physical abuse, and it's not. It's not. It can be verbal, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be financial, it can be digital, it can be sexual. So all those things fall under the umbrella of domestic violence. So, do I have any questions?
Sean, I would just tell you, in attending the Filiatreau ad district meetings, a lot of the communities in those 8 counties really appreciate the services that you all provide.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, you all have the need to provide a lot. So I would tell you, I think our council, I made some notes here, but I think we'll maybe take up your request at a future meeting.
Okay.
And see if we can't find some money to help you all out specifically, since you all lost some of your funding.
Yes, we have.
Right here.
Yes, we have. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you, Leslie, and Dr. LeBoard. We have another special guest that overlooked coming in. We have Olivia Rainey with our Bardstown Police Department and her sidekick Maverick. And Shona talked about earlier, Maverick is a very important part of our efforts here in Bardstown with our police department and a lot of the outreach that we do in other areas of our community. So Olivia recently was recognized at the state level for a major award, and I'm going to let Chief Cussick let us know about how Olivia was recognized for the great work she's doing here.
I'm just so proud of Olivia and Maverick. I mean, they do so many things for so many people in this community, and she stays so busy from the time she comes in, and her phone probably never stops ringing at night. But she just was recently recognized from WellCare of Kentucky. They honored her for her impact as the region's community health champion. So WellCare honored 8 people across the state of Kentucky, and Olivia was one of those 8. And so with that award, she received a $3,000 grant that comes back to the department that she's going to be able to use in future initiatives within her position. And so that was just a really great award. Olivia has received so many awards since she's been here. And just to tell you just a couple of them, she's gotten the Community Health Champion Award, the UK Rising Star in Social Work Award. She was awarded today's Most Admired Woman. She was awarded again Most Admired Woman Kentuckiana of 2025. The UK Sarah Bennett 30 Under 30 Award, Bardstown Emerging Leader Award, Kentucky 40 Under 40 Award, the Kentucky Colonel Award, just some awards that she's got since she's been here. Just some things that I think is important to know. Last year, she helped 165 homeless individuals either get housing, get jobs, whatever assistance that they needed so they weren't homeless on the streets of Bardstown. And this year, she's helped 46, which she's seen a significant decrease in the amount of homeless individuals that are on the streets in Bardstown. And I think that's directly attributed to the work that she's doing, helping connect them to the social services that have been falling through the cracks. She's helped with transportation over 175 times. She's 111 domestic violence assistants, 55 this year alone. She's referred over 200 people to different substance abuse programs or treatments that they're in need of, just to name a few. She sits on several boards, and not to overlook Maverick, who's upset right now because it's his dinner time, so he's wanting to know why he's working overtime tonight. As you can see, he's pretty excited. But Maverick is just as busy as she is. So Maverick goes to Active Day to spend time with clients there, goes to Lincoln Trail. He's been requested for 4 different trick-or-treating events at the schools this year. He does some animal therapy to children that have been involved in a traumatic event the night before, and the school's notified, typically by law enforcement, that they don't tell them what happened, but just to handle them with care. We do a handle with care report. And so if the schools get that, then they reach out to Olivia to see if maybe Maverick can come by and spend some time with the child at the school. And Maverick is the first dog that has been named as a member to the Rotary Club and has his own badge and attends every Rotary meeting. So just so proud of Olivia and what she's doing to help people in our community find the right path and help make life better for them. So congratulations, Olivia.
And maybe on behalf of the city and our council and our community, we can tell, I mean, I get feedback from the community, we can tell that the homeless population has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. There's a number of, I talked to merchants from downtown, people who live in the corridor where the typically was a lot of this going on. It's definitely improved, and I think your work has made a great difference. And we greatly appreciate what you're doing. Your training and your compassion and your commitment has definitely made a difference here in Bardstown, and we're so appreciative of what you've done, and we congratulate you on all those awards. I didn't realize that many. I've read about some, but just one recently, we wanted to have you come in front of our council and be recognized formally for the great work that you're doing here on behalf of our community and our city. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything to the council, or?
Thank you all for letting me be in this position and for accepting Maverick. No, it's partnering with Shona at Springhaven and Bethany Haven and all of the patrol members that we have. I mean, fire, we just did the first responder suicide awareness training in Nelson County, I believe, ever. We had a national renowned speaker, Jared Buchanan, come down from Connecticut, and he provided assistance with suicide awareness, how we can best serve first responders. And so it's just been a great journey so far. So thank you all.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for making time for us tonight, even though Maverick's, I think he's emptied the chief's pockets. I don't think she has any more treats.
No, there's plenty back at the office. Don't worry. He has cookies with Chief every hour on the
I
hour.
feel like I've been bullied today from Maverick.
His dinners or his lunches at Dispatch or his lunches at Rotary. Maverick is well taken care of. He's fine. But thank you, Mayor Heath.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Chief, for implementing this. It was your idea that we needed this position, and thanks to the council for funding. And I think we're seeing this investment pay off. So it's a great thing, and we're blessed to have you and the foresight of our police department. This was a very needed position. And I know other police departments around the area now are taking note. They see what we're doing here, and I think they'd like to hopefully have some of the similar results in their communities.
We've been able to talk to 3 other police departments just about therapy dogs and therapy services directly for officers. And so that's been pretty special to watch that grow as well, to make sure it's officer specific. And that was Chief Kim's idea as well, to make sure that they had a wellness program specifically for them and not just the community. So that's been really cool to watch explode across the state and the nation as a whole. It's been pretty fun to be a part of.
We were the 4th agency in the state of Kentucky to bring a social worker on with law enforcement out of about 400 agencies. And so it's definitely the future. We would like to expand the program as we get more space down the road. Definitely would be something that is definitely needed in a lot of work.
More Mavericks, right, Chief? Jeremy will be so
We'll talk about that.
We only have 1 Maverick. That's right.
You might have a pretty good shot at that change in your budget compared to maybe some other stuff. We'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, can I add that
Sure.
I track the number of overdoses that our first responders make every month, and those have dropped drastically too. And I attribute a lot of that to Olivia.
Thank you, Betty. And Betty and I are a part, well, it's Betty Hart's committee, but we're also working together on the steering committee for No Care as well. So that's been pretty awesome to be able to work with so many different community members and city council members.
Well, we're fortunate that we have so many stakeholders here in our city and county working towards a lot of these issues. This domestic violence, the opioid problems, and the homeless issue. And it's making a difference. And that's what we want. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any other questions for Olivia or Maverick or Chief? How old is Maverick now?
He's 5. He's already 5.
Okay,
He's getting old quick.
all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
We'll go ahead and move on then with our agenda this evening. I might move around just a little bit. I know Brenda Sorrell is here, and we might move up onto the Christmas parade request. I think we just were downtown, weren't you? Weren't you just downtown here last? Did I see you about an hour or so ago?
I was driving through, so no. I tried to steer clear from that.
Okay.
But it looked very nice.
Yeah. So, I think we're all familiar with the Christmas parade and stuff, but Wilma, would you like to say something to the council this evening that we'll be signing off on the request, I guess?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me today. I wasn't for sure if Rock was coming, but that's our poster for this year. And the parade theme is Parade of Lights, Merry and Bright. Just trying to change it up from the traditional, making just everybody happy and whatever goes. As long as you have a lot of lights, we're good. And the parade is December the 4th, always on a Thursday, which thank you for many years of having it on Thursday in the city. I think it's worked really well with our schools and our community. I have never seen so many schools want to be involved in an event and so many community members. So this is super important for our town. It brings in a lot of tourism, I believe, for that one day. I start getting a lot of phone calls from Alabama, Georgia. What day is the Christmas parade on? Where can I stay? So starting right now, I've already gotten like 3 or 4 phone calls from out of town folk. And I just expect it to be another large parade as long as it's not 18 degrees this year, like last year. So we are requesting for some city road closures, and we worked on a plan with the Bardstown Police Department, specifically Chief Kresick and Assistant Chief Joe Seeley. And I think we have a really good plan to use a few more roads. As you know, with the Aquatic Center construction, it's going to take some of our parking that we've used in the past. So we're going to have to be a little more creative on limiting the number of 110 entries. That's our limit this year. I know Bill and I have had a heated discussion about that. And we did up our fee to $35, and for this year, I saw that eye roll. People want to be in the parade, and I believe they will pay it, but I didn't want to go up in 1 year to double the price. So this year we'll go up to 35, and I'm not really seeing any difference in applicants so far. I think right now I'm sitting at 45 or 50. Most of them will come in the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks. But our deadline for entries is November 26th, I believe. And that gives us time to set the lineup and get everything ready to go. We did request a couple more street closures to help with lining up on the parade route back on Broadway. So we're hoping that will help us and my crew that are completely 100% volunteers to get everybody in efficiently, get them lined up properly, and to help alleviate some of the congestion back at West Stephen Foster and Broadway.
Well, is 110 the normal, or did you say you cut back a little bit this year?
We did, Mayor Heaton. Last year we had right at 132 entries. So again, with the aquatic center, new development, we've had to really adjust that, because I would put the schools at the city pool parking lot. Nelson County Schools would have that entire area plus the parking lot across, so I'm going to have to try to be creative about putting them in, because as you know, they have their own competition within their schools, so they like to be together. So I try to accommodate those school groups, and of course the littles is what we call them. I always try to put them up front, like St. Joe's School and Foster Heights and Early Learning Center. You know, I don't like those little ones being in the very back of the line. We can take it, but they need to be done early. So I just try to be really cognizant of how I line those children up and the schools as well. And then I've already talked to Dr. Ryan Clark, Lance Blanford at Bardstown City Schools. They're going to let us use more of their parking. So as soon as school's out, we're going to use all of that parking that is on Tiger Alley and Broadway for any vehicles. So all vehicles will line up in that area. So we're trying to get a little bit better plan this year for the lineup, which is a huge undertaking. I know some of you all with the Kiwanis and Rotary have helped in the past, and you don't know how much that help has been much appreciated. If anybody would like to help, Todd Spalding's always there, making sure that all the fire departments from all of the Nelson County area is lined up at the Bardstown Fire Station. So that's such a help. I know I can just say, hey, Todd, this is how I want the fire departments lined up. And that's one thing that's really important that we recognize here with this committee is we want our first responders in and out, because they could be called out to an emergency and not be able to get back to their firehouse. So one of my goals when I took over 10 or 11 years ago is to make sure that they're in and out pretty quick. So it would be nice to space fire departments out, but you know, we have New Hope and Bloomfield, and there could be an emergency and they need to get back. So that's just something we really take pride in, is making sure that every group is taken care of. So yes, to answer your question, we went down to 110 this year, which is still a big parade.
Yes, it is. I was recently in 2 of our adjoining county seats here in the last 30 days, and this topic came up, and they were just, some of them had been here, and they said compared to those that they had around some of their major festivals, they said your parade is just so much bigger, and I said, well, I don't know, it's Christmas, I'm not knocking festivals, but it's Christmas. It's easy for people to get excited about Christmas, and it's a nighttime event. I think that lends to the pageantry and the beauty of it. I said, and it's well established. We have a great organization. I said, because they wondered, I said, how do y'all do so good? They described theirs, and I said, ours is over in 20 or 30 minutes.
Nobody has a 2-hour Christmas parade.
Yeah.
I know. But
I said, for some of us that are lucky to be in the early part of it, I said, I get to watch a lot of it. I know my way around in the back streets where I can get to and see it. So thank you so much for what you're doing. But does any of the council members, you all seen their request and presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Wilma before we formally vote to approve the request for the street closures and the help from the city of Bardstown to make this parade happen?
And Wilma, they're gonna put out no parking signs on, especially Second Street. I think we had the biggest issue with that last year on Second Street where people were trying to ride around, so they'll handle that.
Yes, we're already working on that. We'll actually have those up the night before, with the date of the parade, no parking from this time to this time. So that's gonna be something that we're adding this year to help with that. And I do wanna say something. I have a large amount of volunteers. Without the volunteers, we could not put a parade on this size. A lot of communities have staff that do this as part of their job. We don't do that here. So, you know, I just want to give a kudos to my parade committee. Without them, I cannot do this. So it's just a big deal, and they love this community so much. They volunteer a lot of their time to do this. And so it's just really special that we love volunteering here in this community because we love this community so much.
Well, again, thank you so much for what you do, and I want to thank both Chief Pressing and Chief Spalding. I know there's a lot of falls on your own shoulders for that night, so thank you all for all of the work you do. It's a great event. Of course, it's well attended, not just by the people that are in the parade, but the streets. It's a wonderful event for our community. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing us to host this parade every year. I think it's an important event for our community.
All right.
Everyone be in order, I'd like to make a motion to approve the layout for this 2025 Bardstown Christmas parade.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Shekels to approve the request for the street closures and assistance for our annual Christmas parade. Second by Councilman Williams. Is there any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Wilma.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
We'll see you. Thank you again. Our city attorneys have get away from the major Halloween event that's also been a major event now that's.
They were still, when I left it, just a few minutes ago, they were still lined up all the way as far as I could see down Flagellate to 3rd Street.
They just secured the details on.
They finally shut up, yeah, so.
I came up Broadway at 10 till and they were lined up that far for that.
There were a lot still coming through, so we shut them. Anyway, sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear you.
Just in time to read some COA.
I know, I should, oh. I thought they were gonna take care of those, so all I had to do is say execution ordinances.
We were waiting for you.
Oh, perfect, so I'm ready. Get back to my agenda.
Here we have, next item is our COAs, and I'll ask our city attorney to read the recommendations, and I think we have just one recusal this evening.
Sorry, Mayor. Reset my password and everything was opening. There they go, earlier, but now it's not.
You need mine?
Maybe.
I can read them if you need to.
Somebody else bought me an iPad, but I literally just had the agenda open and now won't. Anyway, sorry. Johnny, or not Johnny, Noah, like, I said, I think that's my password, but he said, I just reset everything for that to be your password, so now everything's logged out. Alright. Okay, COA 2527, Nancy Stump, applicant under request approval to replace existing wood deck with Trex at 116 South 5th Street. Recommendation, approval to replace existing deck with Trex color to match. COA 2528, Bill and Sabre Mattingly, applicant under request approval to replace historic windows on the sides and rear at 107 West Muir Avenue. Recommendation, approval to replace side windows with clad wood true divided light windows. In the rear, windows 16 through 19 can be replaced with clad wood simulated divided light windows. Condition, applicant must verify windows with staff before installation. COA 2529, Kenny's Cleaners, applicant, owner, Hayden Commercial Branding Contractor. Request approval to replace signage at 102 South 4th Street. Recommendation, approval to add signage as presented. Condition, sign must be installed with the mortar joints not on the face of the brick. COA 2530, Gilbert Brown, applicant owner, Nathan Lyons, contractor representative, requests approval to replace 2 historic windows at 209 North 4th Street. Recommendation, approval to replace the 2 sets of bottom vinyl windows on the rear addition and approval to replace the 2 historic windows on the alley side with new fully wood windows. Condition, applicant must verify windows with staff before installation. COA 2531, Josh Blackman, applicant owner, Joe Buckman, contractor representative, requests approval to add a screened patio to the rear at 208 East Flagey Street. Recommendation, approval to add the screened patio in the rear and brick wall with stone or brick fireplace. Condition, the final decision on the fireplace and the side gate can be staff approved.
All right, thank you, Audrey. The last number 5 is the one Councilman Butler will need to recuse on, so we'll maybe take the motion on the first 4 of them to approve the recommendations, and I think 3 of those have conditions. If you want to do it that way, you can probably take it that way and do the first 4 together. And so I need a motion then to approve the COAs as presented with the conditions on COA 2528, 2529, 2530 in this motion.
I'm making, excuse me, Mayor, I'll make a motion. to approve
And
that.
we have a motion by Councilman Buckman. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, we have a second by Councilman Shekels. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, then all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those COAs are approved, and we'll allow Mr. Councilman Buckman to recuse himself of COA 25-31. Then I would again ask for a motion to approve COA 2531 with the condition as presented.
Making a motion, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Okay, second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Everybody's had a chance to review our minutes from the October 14th meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, we can approve them by unanimous consent. Okay, we have a second reading on 2 ordinances, and
I'm done. I'm logged in now.
okay.
In the moment, I was too stressed to type my password correctly. I really got it now.
We need, I guess we need a motion, or I guess we need to read them for the second reading. We'll start with ordinance B 2025-03.
Okay. Ordinance number B 2025-03. An ordinance declaring the intent to annex into the city of Bardstown land located on the east side of Parkview Avenue, Kentucky 49, southwest of East Stephen Foster Avenue, US 150, and land on the south side of Pottershop Road territory located in Nelson County, Kentucky. Herein, and whereas a map of such annexation area as prepared by a Kentucky licensed surveyor is attached hereto and incorporated by reference as Exhibit A, the annexation map, and whereas the annexation map and the metes and bounds description set forth herein both indicate the annexation area is adjacent and or contiguous to the pre-existing municipal boundary of the city of Bardstown as indicated by one or more ordinances referenced on the annexation map. And whereas it is deemed beneficial and necessary to the welfare of the city of Bardstown for its orderly growth and economic development to annex the property described below into the city. And whereas the City Council finds such annexation to be consistent with the goals and objectives of the applicable comprehensive plan titled Nelson County 2035, as readopted September 26, 2023 by the city. And whereas the city council has determined that no part of the area to be annexed shall be included in the boundary of another city. And whereas the city council is aware of no evidence to indicate utility infrastructure owned by another city is in the annexation area. And whereas the city council, based on the annexation map and other information of record, finds no part of the territory being annexed to be in an agricultural district as the term is used in KRS 262-850. And whereas as evidenced by the annexation map, the annexation area has multiple access points from public roads. And whereas the city council is acting in reliance upon the published opinion of the Kentucky Court of Appeals in Jewell versus City of Bardstown, 260 Southwest 3rd, 348, Kentucky Appellate 2008, which recognizes that a consent to annexation and a chain of title binds subsequent owners of such real property to such consent. And whereas through one or more previously signed consents to annexation, which are of record before the city council, more than 55% of the property owners have, pursuant to KRS 81A 412, agreed to annexation by the city. And whereas such consents to annexation include but are not limited to an instrument titled Water and Sewer Service Agreement and Consent to Annexation, and recorded in the office of the Nelson County Clerk in Book 594, pages 568 through 574. And whereas the annexation, which is the subject of this ordinance, is undertaken pursuant to KRS 81A 412 for those properties whose owners have consented in writing to this annexation, and undertaken pursuant to KRS 81A 410 for property owners who have not consented in writing. And whereas the city council recognizes the Nelson County Fiscal Court has consented to annexation of a portion of Pottershop Loop included in the annexation area. And whereas it is the intent of the city council that properties in the annexation area shall maintain each of their same zoning district classifications as presently exists, unless and until further proceedings, if any, in compliance with KRS Chapter 100 and the city's zoning ordinance take place, whether by property owner application or otherwise pursuant to applicable law. And whereas the territory annexed, i.e. the annexation area, approximately 68.774 plus or minus acres of land located east side of Parkview Avenue, Kentucky 49, and on the south side of Pottershop Loop and west side of Pottershop Road, is by reason of population density, commercial, industrial, institutional, or governmental use of land or subdivision of land, is urban in character or suitable for development for urban purposes without unreasonable delay. And whereas the city council further finds that all the foregoing adjudicative facts and other evidence of record before the city council as of the vote on this ordinance, which is incorporated herein by reference, support annexation of the annexation area as being in compliance with KRS Chapter 81A. Now therefore be it ordained by the city council of the city of Bardstown, Kentucky, that the city council hereby ratifies the mayor's signature upon and approves any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, including but not limited to the consents to annexation. And further, the city hereby annexes the following described unincorporated area and makes it a part of the city of Bardstown, Kentucky. 1. The territory described below, a map of which is attached to this ordinance as Exhibit A and is fully incorporated into this ordinance, is hereby annexed into the city of Bardstown. The east side of Parkview Avenue, Kentucky 49, south side of East Stephen Foster Avenue, US 150, south side of Pottershop Loop, and west side of Pottershop Road, including portions of road right-of-way listed above, is by reason of population density, commercial or governmental use of land, or subdivision of land, is urban in character or suitable for development for urban purposes without unreasonable delay, and more particularly described as follows in a meets and bounds description. 2, the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable, and if any section, phase, or provision or portion of the contemplated annexation shall for any reason be declared invalid, such declaration of invalidity shall not affect the validity of the remainder of this ordinance. 3, this ordinance is adopted pursuant to KRS 83A 060, and said ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon the signature, recordation, and publication in accordance with KRS A 060 and KRS Chapter 424.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. This is a second reading, then we'll need a motion then to approve the ordinance as presented for B 2025-03, the annexation of Rowland Hills. And the map there shows you the area in question.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion for Councilman Jones, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
I'm going to have a second. Is there any other questions or discussions? Ms. Hagan, are you here in regards to this? You're the only person that's not normally here attending.
I am. I'm just here to listen. We received the letter about the annexation, which
You have
is
any
a
questions?
portion of our property. I have a lot of questions, but I don't think that's for here. I think it's just for me, talking to individuals and just finding out
Okay.
what it means for
Are
them.
you in this area or are you in a different area? We have two different.
Yes, I think we're in the other area. We are Parkview, but we're Parkview near the overpass on Woodlawn Road, Woodlawn Springs. So I think we're in the other,
Okay.
in the next one. Yeah. Yeah, so I really didn't have anything, Mr. Mayor. I'm just here to listen
Okay.
and learn. Yeah, as much as
helps
anything.
you
Yeah.
clarify maybe some of your questions or whatever.
Thank you.
If
Yes.
you have any, we're going to call City Hall and we've got myself or staff can be happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, we have a motion and a second. There's no other questions or discussion. This is second reading, so I'll need individual votes. So all those in favor, if you would, signify by saying aye, and I'll start with Councilman Hibbs.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion's carried and that ordinance passed now. All right, we have a second reading for ordinance B 2025-09, and I ask our city attorney also to read that one as well.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number B 2025-09, an ordinance declaring the intent to annex into the city of Bardstown, Kentucky, land located on the south side of Woodlawn Road, Kentucky 605, and on the east side of Filiatreau Lane, following along Kentucky 605, extending across the Bluegrass Parkway and continuing east to Parkway Drive, contiguous to the existing northern city limits of Bardstown in Nelson County, Kentucky. Whereas the City Council has expressed its desire and intent to annex certain unincorporated territory located in Nelson County, Kentucky, herein called the annexation area, into the city of Bardstown. And whereas a map of such annexation area as prepared by a Kentucky licensed surveyor is attached hereto and incorporated by reference as Exhibit A, the annexation map. And whereas the annexation map and the meets and bounds description set forth herein both indicate the annexation area is adjacent and or contiguous to the pre-existing municipal boundary of the city of Bardstown, as indicated by one or more ordinances referenced on the annexation map. And whereas it is deemed beneficial and necessary to the welfare of the city of Bardstown for its orderly growth and economic development to annex the property described below into the city. And whereas the City Council finds such annexation to be consistent with the goals and objectives of the applicable comprehensive plan titled Nelson County 2035 as readopted September 26, 2023 by the city. And whereas the City Council has determined that no part of the area to be annexed shall be included in the boundary of another city. And whereas the City Council is aware of no evidence to indicate utility infrastructure owned by another city is in the annexation area. And whereas the City Council, based on the annexation map and other information and record, finds no part of the territory being annexed to be in an agricultural district as the term is used in KRS 262-850. And whereas, as evidenced by the annexation map, the annexation area has multiple access points from public roads. And whereas the City Council is acting in reliance upon the published opinion of the Kentucky Court of Appeals in Jewell versus City of Bardstown 260 Southwest 3rd, 348 Kentucky Court of Appeals 2008, which recognizes that a consent to annexation in a chain of title binds subsequent owners of such real property to such consent. And whereas through one or more previously signed consents to annexation, which are of record before the City Council, more than 55% of the property owners have, pursuant to KRS 81A-412, agreed to annexation by the city. And whereas such consents to annexation include but are not limited to an instrument titled Water and Sewer Service Agreement and Consent to Annexation, and recorded in the Office of the Nelson County, Kentucky Clerk in Book 316, page 209. And whereas a portion of the annexation area includes a large property currently owned by an electric utility commonly known as Salt River Electric, which contains a large building operated by said utility. And whereas the annexation, which is the subject of this ordinance, is undertaken pursuant to KRS 81A-412 for those properties whose owners have consented in writing to this annexation, and undertaken pursuant to KRS 81A-410 for property owners who have not consented in writing. And whereas the City Council recognizes that the Commonwealth of Kentucky has not consented to the annexation of any portion of the state highway included in the annexation area, and it instructs appropriate city officials to provide notice to the Commonwealth of Kentucky through its transportation cabinet of this intent to annex ordinance in compliance with KRS 81A-425. And whereas it is the intent of the city council that properties in the annexation area shall maintain each of their same zoning district classifications as presently exists, unless and until further proceedings, if any, in compliance with KRS Chapter 100 and the city's zoning ordinance take place, whether by property owner application or otherwise pursuant to applicable law. And whereas the territory annexed, i.e. the annexation area, approximately 101.657 plus or minus acres of land, located on the south side of Kentucky 605 Woodlawn Road, east of Filiatreau Lane, on the west side of Parkway Drive, is by reason of population density, commercial, industrial, institutional, or governmental use of land or subdivision of land, is urban in character or suitable for development for urban purposes without unreasonable delay. And whereas the city council further finds that all the foregoing adjudicative facts and other evidence of record before the city council as of the vote on this ordinance, which is incorporated herein by reference, support annexation of the annexation area as being in compliance with KRS 81A. Now therefore be it ordained by the city council of the city of Bardstown, Kentucky, that the city council hereby ratifies the mayor's signature upon and approves any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, including but not limited to the consents to annexation. And further, the city hereby annexes the following described unincorporated area and makes it a part of the city of Bardstown, Kentucky. 1. The territory described below, a map of which is attached to this ordinance as Exhibit A and is fully incorporated into this ordinance, is hereby annexed into the city of Bardstown. A certain tract of land located on the west side of Bluegrass Parkway, on the north side of US Highway 150, on the east and west side of Highway 245, and on the east and west side of Filiatreau Lane in Nelson County, Kentucky, more particularly described as follows. And there is a meets and bounds description. 2. The provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable, and if any section, phase, or provision or portion of the contemplated annexation shall for any reason be declared invalid, such declaration of invalidity shall not affect the validity of the remainder of this ordinance. 3. This ordinance is adopted pursuant to KRS 83A 060, and said ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon the signature, recordation, and publication in accordance with KRS 83A 060 and KRS Chapter 424.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Again, we need then a motion to approve the second reading ordinance P 2025-09.
So move there.
Councilman Buckman, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Wood, second, all right, Councilman second. Any other discussion or questions? Just, Ms. Hager, as you look at that, you can see the blue and the brown is surrounded by that light gray. That just shows you how the city boundaries really surround that area, and we have sort of this little donut hole kind of in the middle of, so that's kind of the intent of this, is to kind of close these areas up, because it's just not good planning to have those areas like that surrounded by the city, and it's already identified by the comprehensive plan as an urban service area, so it's suitable for the growth that's happening. And it also makes it simpler for dispatching services. When they're looking at maps, they don't see maps that have blue and tan and gray. And so you want to be correct in how they get dispatched help when help is needed in those areas. So you don't want to say, well, is that in the city, or should we send in the county, or, is that sheriff's department, or, it helps make that more consistent and also improve that too. So that's part of the purpose behind this stuff. Helps with orderly growth in our community. So.
Absolutely. I did notice on the map that was attached that area in the blue and the brown.
All these areas are contiguous. The city has just grown over the years, and so we're trying to clean up some of these kind of odd spots where we have these, we call them islands in the middle of our town and stuff.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. This takes an individual vote, so all in favor, signify by saying aye. We'll start with Councilman Jones.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. The motion is passed. All right, thank you all. We have another, we have the police department highlighted earlier with some recognition. We're calling Chief Spalding to tell us about the latest Insurance Service Office audit and report. That's some good news for both the city as well as our residents and businesses.
Thank you, Mayor. So Insurance Service Office is a separate entity. They kind of come in and evaluate the community and try to determine what the risk factor is for the community as far as fire goes. They rate the community on the fire department, which is 50%, water supply 40%, dispatch center is 10%, and then they give you bonus points for community risk reduction, and that's can be up to 5.5 points. They come in and they rate all this, and then they just, some of these insurance companies buy this rating from them, and then they base people's insurance premiums on what that community is based upon. So not all insurance companies use it, but the ones that do, you know, it does affect people's premiums. The first section there is emergency communications. Of course, that's the dispatch center. We don't have a whole lot of control over that. The maximum score you can get in that is a 10. So you can see that they were at 8.81, which was 0.27 improvement from 2018. They generally do these audits about every 10 years, but they're starting to change to where they're doing them every 5 to 7. And then next up is the fire department. We were at a 31.6 in 2018, and this 2025 we went to a 35.1. So credit for engine companies. They want to see how many engine companies that you have. You all gave us 3 people probably 3 years ago, and that allowed us to outfit another apparatus. What they'd like to see is 2 engine companies and a ladder company on scene for every structure fire. So now with that 7th person, we were able to get 2 engines and a ladder company on scene to meet those qualifications that they were looking for. The reserve pumpers, we don't have enough to have a reserve pumper, and really it's just a 0.5 point. And you know, if you have that reserve pumper, you got to maintain it, you got to provide insurance on it and all that, and it's a substantial cost to just have that reserve apparatus. So, you know, is it the cost worth the 0.5 point? I don't think so. Our pump capacity, they look at all the structures within our community. You know, right now, you know, 5-6 years ago, we didn't have 4-story hotels. Now we have 4-story hotels. We got the rick houses. Our community is growing. So they rate that our community, we need 3,500 gallons per minute to sustain fire protection. And so, like, our ladder company, our ladder truck, it has a 2,000 GPM pump on it, but we don't get credit for that because we get credit for that in our ladder company. So they have to take our engine companies and they take the GPM of each of those engines and add them up. And so we're able to meet that 3,500 GPM for our community. And so that gave us our maximum points on that for 3. Our ladder company, we got our maximum points for 4. We didn't get any points for reserve ladder company. Deployment analysis, this is based on station distribution and how fast we can get to the scene. Right now, the maximum points for that is 10. We're at a 6.4. So we still have some growth to do to get our station distribution to where it needs to be. You know, some places, especially where on the hospital end or Parkway Drive, it could take us like 8 minutes to get there. So it's a little bit longer haul for us to get there. So that's why we didn't get the maximum points there. Personnel, we are at 5.14. The maximum points on that is 15. We did see a little bit of improvement there. They'll give you maximum credit on that if you have 12 personnel per shift. So right now we're at 7. So we got some, growing to do there. And I think in like my strategic plan, I've lined out that over the next 6 to 8 years, we'd like to add 3 people to each shift over the next, every 2 years over the next 6 to 8 years. And that'll give us enough people to build our third station, and that'll improve our station distribution, and it'll give us additional personnel, and that'll help not only bring our score down, these are just benchmarks to help us achieve, but also it improves our proficiency in our operation, and it improves the safety of our personnel. So we don't just ask for things just for ISO purposes, but also to increase our proficiency.
Todd, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
So are those numbers based on the population of the city?
No.
Or based on
No, they really don't base it on any population. This is what we'd like for you to have. And really, NFPA, they like to see that you have 15 people on scene, so ISO could meet you in the middle of 12. And so, and a lot of this, you have to take the risk versus the cost. And, so when I ask for things, I try to look at that. Is the cost worth the benefit? Where's the cost benefit analysis? One of the things that we really try to improve on from 2018, we left a lot of points in training back in 2018. They have a set categories of training that they want us to hit, benchmarks within that training. And, that's some really low-hanging fruit that doesn't cost the city anything. And we really focused on trying to maximize that score. The maximum score you can get there is 9, and we got it at an 8.56, that was our biggest increase. We saw a 2.39. Our lieutenants, they do our training schedule, and they do all the documentation of that. And we set up a matrix to make sure that we're trying to hit all those ISO points. They send that report to Assistant Chief Grayson quarterly, and he looks over and makes sure that we're achieving those benchmarks that they're looking for. So we were almost there to maximize that out. So overall, we were at a 35.1, which is a 3.5 point increase. The most you can get is a 50. And of course, like we talked about, a lot of that's in our station distribution and our personnel. Water supply, we saw just a slight decrease over 2018. We did see, credit for supply system is the maximum score is a 30. I think we'll see an increase in that with the new water line coming in from Louisville Water Company. So we're going to probably see a better increase in our supply system on our next audit. Hydrants, that's kind of like hydrant distribution. We did get a little bit of increase there. We tried to identify areas like Sunset Drive this past year that was deficient in hydrants, and they got approved to get some hydrants installed on Sunset Drive. So that helped increase the score there. Every year we go out and inspect and flow test the hydrants. The maximum score there is 7. And so we were able to achieve our maximum score on that, and that's something that we can control, and just making sure that we're getting out testing all our hydrants to make sure that they're working properly. Community risk reduction, that is our kind of the bonus points. So prevention code and enforcement, that's us going out and doing inspections. Our safety education is going out and talking to the schools, and our fire investigations. We maximized all those except for the fire prevention code and enforcement, and we were 2/10 short on that of maximizing. So overall, our score was 81.93. That puts us at a class 2, which is out of 40,000 departments that are evaluated by ISO. That puts us at 2,000. We were in that category of class 2, which there's only 2,004 fire departments in the United States that are a class 2. And so I credit all that to you guys for giving us the financial support and personnel that we needed, and also the staff that that test the fire hydrants, that do the training, and do all that to help us get to a 2. And this is, I don't know what the dollar figure will be for homeowners and the reduction in their homeowners insurance. Hopefully they'll see some reduction. A lot of industries should see some reduction, but I think it's a really good recruiting tool for industries and people that get annexed in, to know that they're going to have adequate fire protection when called upon, and so I think it's a really good thing for our community.
Okay, thank you, Chief. We're really proud of y'all's improvement to get to a 2. We've never been to a 2, so
Yeah.
I forget where we were 15 years ago, but it's probably what, up there in the 6th?
Yeah,
grade?
6.
Yeah.
Went from 6 to 3,
6 to 3.
and my insurance went down to $45.
Yeah.
But all insurance companies don't.
Right.
It's a Kentucky Farm Bureau.
So,
I can call them tomorrow. 3 to 2.
it's good work. I think, to your point, we are seeing that the investment we are making in equipment and staffing and training is paying dividends with coverage that we can provide, response times that we can provide to take care of these issues.
And that's our overall goal, is to be proficient and to provide people the fire protection that they deserve.
Not counting all the wrecks you all work and the other emergencies.
Wrecks, rescues, all of
Falls and so forth.
that. Yes, sir.
Thank you
Thank you.
for that report. Anyone have any questions for Chief on that? Any other questions? Okay, I think Chief Cressy, do you have anything else to report on?
Just that the spectacular was probably the most crowded I've ever seen that. There were thousands of kids and families downtown today, so they got a lot of candy and it went well.
It's like Arts and Craft was probably the biggest it's ever been. Art Festival, probably one of the biggest ones we ever had. Things are going well here in Bardstown. Thank you all for helping us pull these events off. Thank you. We have cemetery deeds. We have one columbarium niche by Deborah Allen. We can approve that by unanimous consent. Any members of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening? Any reminders of anything else besides Halloween events going on this week? Okay. On my report, I don't have a lot. We were hoping that the walls for our aquatic sports center are prefabricated tilt-up walls. We've seen pictures, some of them are built. We've actually seen pictures of the ones that are, some of them built, but we thought they would be shipped by the end of November. It's not going to happen. It'll be sometime October. Sometime in November is when they're now telling us they're going to be shipped. There'll be 2 per truck. They must be rather large, and be 40 truckloads of those. It won't all happen in a matter of a couple of days. We'll try to spread those out because it's a major chore to get those trucks off I-65. They're going to exit Lebanon Junction and come Boston Road and then turn on Broadway to get delivered here. So I guess we'll know when it starts happening because there'll be a major effort on 62 coming towards town. I was able to tour our Town Creek sewer plant work last week. Some of us went through that about 2 or 3 months ago. It's coming along well, a lot more finished work. You can see a lot more finished work since the last time I was there. They're back on schedule after losing a lot of time due to all the flooding that occurred back in the spring. But it's progressing nicely now, and they're doing a good job there. The liner now is in that huge lagoon. You see that lagoon with that liner, it's unbelievable how big that lagoon is when you see it in that way, that compared to what it looked like last time I was down there. And the office building, lab building, and all that's coming along. I think they'll have that finished December, I think they're saying, most of that, so that'll be a help. This past weekend, if many of y'all were watching much sports like I was, you probably, if you're on cable, we were having some freezing issues. Had nothing to do with Amazon crashing Monday morning about 3 a.m. Jeff Mills not here, so you won't get the 30-minute explanation of why that was gone, but it's known as sunspots, and it has to do twice a year when our Earth aligns a certain way with the sun, and the sun causes sunspots that impact the nodes that are on our system. And that's why you had this disruption, and so we had to do a reboot, Monday morning. That went on between 5 and 6 a.m. and it went pretty well for the most part. We had an area, town, Daugherty area that I think 38 households were out longer than anybody else in that area of town. So we got a lot of calls from those 38 people throughout the day wanting to know when their TV and internet was going to come up. It's pretty good considering the thousands of customers we have, and that reboot took place, and it's pretty, everything's in pretty good shape now, and I think Amazon's up again too, so everybody's off the stress of this for all that went on the same day. Anyone have any questions on any of that?
I found a little bit today too, their email server is down right now. Hope it'll be back up next, maybe tomorrow afternoon, I was told. So if anybody's experienced Bardstown cable.
Yeah, I noticed it earlier today, or last night actually.
Yeah, it went out last night.
I just haven't called yet. I have internet so I can work from home, so I'm good.
Good.
But, other than that,
All right. Bill, you got, I think, 3 different accounts where they all
down.
of them.
Yeah. Schools,
I try to reach you, I always have to send you 3 different emails, make sure I get to the right one. Okay,
But we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be
all
back
right,
tomorrow.
thank you. If there's nothing else, then I would entertain the motion for adjournment.
So much.
Councilman Buckman, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Williams, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.